Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop. And today we're going to be doing a versus video between the Nike Ja 2 and the Giannis Freak 6. So of course this is Giannis Antetokounmpo's signature shoe with Nike. And of course this is Ja Morant's signature shoe with Nike. So both of these shoes are really nice overall performers, especially for guards. Not the best in my personal opinion, but overall really nice. Just a super responsive, very simple feeling shoe. And yeah, as far as the price goes, they are pretty similar. So the Ja 2 is retailing for 120 bucks. The Halloween colorway just came out. That one retails for 130, but general release colorways are 120 bucks. And the Freak 6 also, or I guess the Giannis Freak 6 retails for 140 bucks. This colorway and some other colorways are 150, but most other colorways are 140 bucks. So there is a $20 price difference, but the overall tech is quite similar. So we'll have to see which shoe is better. In my opinion, they're both really nice guard shoes, right? But there are some differences, and it's not like one's better than the other in my personal opinion. It's just what your preference is going to be, because they do feel overall extremely similar, but there are some differences, right? But anyways, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave in the affiliate link in the description box. And if you do choose to get either of these shoes, it does help me out if you buy it through the affiliate link in the description box, or I try to leave a link right over here, or you can get it through the product pictures underneath this video. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. And also just a quick note, a lot of you guys have been asking me about the socks that I've been wearing in my videos. It's called Young Hone. It's my brand, and I've been working on that sock for quite a while, because I've been getting a lot of samples in, getting a lot of materials, and seeing which one I like best, and also seeing which one is the best quality and feels the best. But now it's finally ready for pre-order, and if you guys do want to get it, I'll try to leave the website in the description box. It is a pre-order, so it'll take a couple of weeks to get it, and also it's a very limited drop. But if you do choose to buy it, thank you guys, I really appreciate it, and thank you for all the support. But yeah, let's get it started off with the Traction. So both of these shoes have really nice bites on a clean court. So if you're playing on a clean court, you're gonna be good to go. You have amazing tops, pretty much top tier stops, right? I would say the Zoom Freak 6 is a little bit squeakier. You know, of course, squeak has nothing to do with performance, but if you like a little bit more of a squeakier shoe, then the Freak 6 has got you covered. The Ja 2 also has a nice squeak, but it's just not as loud, not as squeaky, right? Also, if you are playing on a dusty court, I would say the Freak 6 is the worst option, right? So it picks up a little bit more dust. It is affected by dust a little bit more. Like, you do need to break it in, however, right? So at first it was pretty bad, but once I broke it in, it got better and better, but it still does pick up a little bit more dust. If you do wipe, however, you should be good to go, and you have really nice stops here, right? But again, you're gonna need a wipe. Here in the Ja 2, it still does pick up a little bit of dust, but from my experience, it picks up dust less, right? And it also bites through dust a little bit better too. So just from my experience, the Ja 2 has been the better performer on dust, but the Freak 6 is not that much worse, right? Also, if you are playing on an outdoor court, I don't know, I feel like both of these shoes wouldn't be the best, but the Ja 2 rubber is a little bit thinner, it feels like. It feels like it's a little bit more pliable because of the thinner rubber. The Freak 6, it feels a little bit harder, and so it's a little bit harder to move with my fingers. So I feel like the Freak 6 would be a little bit better for durability if you are playing on an outdoor court. So yeah, I would say they're both nice, but the Ja 2 on an indoor court is just a tiny bit better because of the dust performance. So there is that. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, they're both really smooth, but the Ja 2 is really smooth and extremely flexible, right? So here in the heel, we have a rounded shape, and both of these shoes have a pretty exposed midsole. Right, the Freak 6 is a little cage here in the back of the shoe, but it's not that bad and still has nice compression, right? So both of these shoes are very smooth here in the heel. Also, for the shape in the forefoot, they both have a nice curved shape, right? Same thing here in the Ja 2. So that feels really nice. So the overall shape gives it a really nice smooth feel, right? However, the Freak 6 is a little bit more, like, I have to put way more force into bending the actual forefoot, right? And it also has a nice spring back to it. So when you're running down the court doing heel dominant strides, and also out of your first step, you feel a little bit more explosive because this is a little bit springier, right? Here in the Ja 2, however, first of all, it doesn't seem to really have a midfoot shank plate, so torsional support obviously isn't going to be as good. So if you need torsional support, the Ja 2 isn't the best option. Also, It's just a really flexible feeling shoe. You know what I mean? Especially in the midfoot and forefoot. So it doesn't have as much springiness to it, right? So it's not as explosive or supportive feeling under your foot as, you know, the Freak 6, of course. So it's not that it's worse or bad or better or whatever. It's just based on personal preference. So if you want that kind of like more support underneath your foot and springier feel, then the Freak 6 is better. But if you want that more really smooth and flexible feeling shoe, then the Ja 2 is better, right? So for me, I like the Freak 6 feel a little bit better. I like that explosive, springier feel. And also, like, when you're playing on the Ja 2, your feet are gonna need to do a little bit more work, you know what I mean? So there's a heel to toe transition. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is also very, very similar, right? So the Ja 2 is using Cushlon. And actually, like, it doesn't say in the tech specs. Well, it doesn't. Like, if you do like the more info on the tech specs, it doesn't say that. But if you go into the bottom of the web page, it tells you like it's Cushlon, which is weird. But either way, it's not that nice. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of compression, but the Ja 2 has really good court feel, right? So you are very, very low to the ground. Overall impact protection also isn't the best, which kind of sucked. I don't know how Ja's been playing this. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's okay. But I guess if you're younger and you want really good court feel and you want something super responsive, then the Ja 2's all right. You know what I mean? But for the most part, it's not that great, right? The Freak 6, it still has good court feel, but it's a little bit higher up off the ground than the Ja 2, but it's still good, you know what I mean? But also we have better compression here in the heel and also better overall impact protection. Of course, like the Freak 6 is not the best in impact protection or for cushion by any means. There's a lot of better cushioning setups out there in my personal opinion. However, I would say it's a little bit better than the Ja 2 because it has better impact protection, right? Also, stepping comfort is a little bit better too. This is also using Cushlon, but it's using Cushlon 2.0, I believe it was. They are both using forefoot zoom units. It's like a rectangular forefoot zoom unit in both of the shoes, I believe it was. So you get a little bit of compression, a little bit of bounce, like on that little strip of zoom, you know, in the forefoot. But other than that, for the most part, I would say the Freak 6 is a little bit better for the cushioning setup. So there's that. Moving on to the upper. The upper is really similar feeling, however, right? So they're both really, really thin and really soft for the upper, especially here in the toe box, right? So here in the Ja 2, we have a really open mesh, right? And it's not glued down at all. Look at this. You just press it with your finger and it gives. Same thing here in the Freak 6. Look at this. You have a mono mesh material. I would say the Freak 6 feels a little bit thinner, but overall they're both really minimal, especially here in the toe box. So that feels very similar on foot. Also here in the midfoot, they're around the same as well. And then for the tongue, we have pretty much the exact same amount of padding. Maybe the Ja 2 is a little bit more padded, but it's very, very similar, right? They're both half booty construction tongues, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit, which I do like. But here in the ankle area, the Freak 6 has a little bit more padding actually, right? So on top of the ankle collar right over here, there's and kind of like wrapping around the heel, there's more padding up there. Here in the Ja 2, there's very, very minimal padding, right? So yeah, here in the toe box, feels very similar. Same thing here in the midfoot and for the tongue, but the Zoom Freak 6 is a little bit more padded in the ankle area. And as far as the overall quality goes, I would say they're around the same. You know what I mean? Also, the durability for both of the materials it doesn't seem that good, you know? But, you know, the Freak 6 is $20 more, so I guess the Ja 2 takes the cake on that. But again, for performance, it feels very similar, you know, on foot besides the ankle area. So there's that. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to size for both of these shoes and they both fit me really well. However, the Ja 2 is extremely freaking narrow and pointy. You know what I mean? Like my big toe is kind of curved in with this shoe. The Freak 6, not as much for some reason. I don't know what it is with the Ja 2 for me, but I didn't really like that. You know what I mean? So other than that though, here in the toe box, it's around the same, a pretty nice snug fit. Although there is a lot of forgiveness, right? So if you don't like that super snug fit, I don't think you'll mind too much because again, it'll like you can curl your toes up a little bit because it's a really soft material right here in the toe box. But also for the Freak 6, don't get me wrong, it's still a narrow fit. However, the Ja 2 is just a little bit more narrow and a little bit more uncomfortable for my big toe, for me personally. So I mean, like, if you want a pretty snug fit for both of the shoes, go true to size. Just be careful with the Ja 2 with the width, right? And now moving on to the support and lockdown. So I had zero issues with both of the shoes. However, they're like not the most supportive feeling shoes that you can get, right? So first of all, like comparing to, I don't know, like the AE1, the Hardens, the Big 3 5.0 Quick Pro, like that material is really thin, but pretty glued down and very supportive. With these materials, you know, it's not glued down at all. It's just really, really soft. So for lateral containment, the Ja 2 is going to be a little bit better in keeping your foot inside of the footbed, because here in the forefoot, you have the foam coming up acting as a sidewall, right? And both of these shoes, of course, obviously have an internal TPU heel counter, but the Freak 6, not as much, right? So for me, however, it was adequate. I didn't really have any issues with my forefoot coming out of the footbed. However, I feel like if you're bigger and heavier and you do crazy lateral movements, you're gonna feel it a lot more than me, right? So if you need more support, especially for lateral containment, the Ja 2 is probably gonna be a little bit better, right? But also, like, both of these shoes aren't the most supportive feeling here in the midfoot, right? The Ja 2 feels a little bit more glued down here in the midfoot. The Freak 6, not as much, even though we do have this leather material. So it just feels like your foot is kind of moving the material a little bit. You know what I mean? So again, not a big deal for me. I didn't really even mind it. It's just, if you're looking for a more supportive shoe, both of these shoes aren't the best option, right? Lateral stability is really nice in both of these shoes. We have a very wide base here in the forefoot. Yeah, the Ja 2 actually has an outrigger, but I guess the Freak 6 is just as wide. You know what I mean? So it's pretty much the same width here in the forefoot as well as here in the heel. So lateral stability was good for me in both of the shoes, and I didn't really have any issues with heel slippage or anything like that. So yeah, support and lockdown, they're both adequate for me. It's just the Ja 2 will be a little bit better for lateral containment if you need a lot of support. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, probably the Ja 2 is gonna be lighter, right? Yeah, the Freak 6 is 11.3 ounces, which is extremely light, but the Ja 2, oh, 11.3 ounces, so it's the exact same weight. Oh, pretty surprising. I thought the Freak 6 was going to be a little bit heavier, but yeah, both of these shoes are extremely lightweight. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces, so it's more than an ounce lighter than average for both of the shoes. They're pretty much the same exact weight, and yeah, the upper feels extremely minimal on foot. You feel very quick when you're playing in both of these shoes. I guess besides on dust for the Freak 6 because it picks up a little bit more dust, but either way, they're both extremely responsive shoes. It's just I would say the biggest difference is the sole of the shoe. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's not as springy here in the Ja 2. It's just more of a really smooth and flexible type of shoe. And then the Freak 6 is more stable underneath your foot and has a little bit more springiness in the forefoot as well. So that's like the main difference, you know? Because again, same weight, very minimal upper and all that. So there's that. Moving on to the aesthetics. I don't know, guys. The Freak 6 definitely grew on me. I don't know. The colorways are kind of you know, that have come out. I definitely feel like the Ja 2 colorways are way better, but the overall design, I would tie it up. I like the overall design for both of the shoes. Maybe edge out the Ja 2 a little bit though. You know what I mean? So tell us what you guys think looks better down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah. So if you're trying to save money, I would say go with the Ja 2. But in my personal opinion, I think the Freak 6 is a little bit better. You know what I mean? So it has slightly better cushion. The traction isn't as good, but it wasn't that bad on dust for me, especially once I broke it in. And I do like the springier and more stable feeling kind of sole of the shoe as well for the Freak 6. And again, I didn't have any issues with like lateral containment or support or anything like that, because, you know, I am a smaller, lighter dude. So I would pick the Freak 6, right? But again, if you are trying to save money, or you want more of like a lower to the ground feel and you don't mind the cushion, or you want a more flexible type of shoe, then get the Ja 2, right? You can't really go wrong. I enjoy playing in both of the shoes. It's just, in my personal opinion, I would say I like the Freak 6 a little bit more. And I feel like most people would like the Freak 6 a little bit more as well. But anyways, that about concludes my versus video between the Ja 2 and the Freak 6. Again, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave in the link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.